I've posted a very unattractive picture of myself on Instagram. I look tired. It's almost bedtime. Why did I do it? You will find out on this podcast. Also, today, clear the clutter from your home, life, and mind. I mean, it's such an inspiring podcast guest today. I think you're going to love it. Hi, I'm Tony. I'm an author, presenter at Sky Sports, and years ago, I went to the jungle and got ill. Very ill. So this is my podcast adventure to find more energy. It's packed with biohacking, science, health tech, supplements, and some of the most well-known experts on the planet.
This is something I spent 4 months of my life doing with electrodes glued to my head so that you can do a lifetime worth of meditation.
Decide what you don't give a fuck about, which is something you don't care about.
Some of it gets quite out there.
I had some stem cells sent up to my house that I had stored, and then I injected myself with mannitol.
And we even hack hangovers.
Alcohol is poisonous. So is water and oxygen in the wrong dosage.
So that's my podcast, Zestology. Live life with energy, vitality, and motivation. Yes, so welcome back to Zestology. Shira Gill is my podcast guest today. She's, how would I describe her? A home organising expert, an author, a speaker, and she helps you clear the clutter. And I am an absolute firm believer that it is important to declutter our physical space as well as our mental space. And I felt a little bit shamed. If you head to tonywrighton.com, you will see the podcast post for this week's podcast, and you'll see a picture of Shira and a picture of me side by side recording this podcast. And Shira is wonderfully turned out. The lighting is perfect. She's in her kitchen and it looks really nice. In the background there's loads of plants. And I look like I've rolled out of bed. I'm in my spare room. It's a sort of grainy picture. The lighting's all wrong. There's a smudge over the lens of my camera. I've just got it all wrong. So I mean, just that itself. She's very well, her life seems well put together. She gave me some great parenting tips actually as well. And I just think in terms of clearing the clutter from your home life and mind, that is something that's worth doing. And her book at the moment is on pre-order, Minimalista. And we'll go into this a little bit more later on. But I happen to know that it is sort of lined up as being a New York Times best-selling book, this, because it's already sold so many on pre-order. Comes out in the next couple of months. So that is coming up later on in the podcast. But before that, there's a little bit of housekeeping to get into. And one of the themes over the last month or so has been mouth taping on this podcast and all the benefits that it brings you, all the good stuff that it brings you. And since I spoke about it a few weeks ago and the book Breath by James Nestor that I've been reading, so many people have got in touch with me. So does taping your mouth lead to better sleep, especially if you're sort of a bit under the weather, or you've got hay fever, or you're histamine intolerant, or you just don't breathe that well out of your nostrils at night? This is the question I've been asking for the last couple of months, and I did post a very unattractive picture of myself on Instagram. I look a bit tired in it. It's pre-bedtime, so it's nighttime, and if you look closely, you'll see I have a thin piece of translucent tape on my mouth. Now, this is not on my personal Instagram. This is on the histamine intolerance Instagram. So if you go to histamine intolerance site, you'll see that. And before you dismiss this as a rather unattractive photo and a completely bonkers idea, I need to go into this mouth taping thing again because I've had some very interesting responses on mouth taping. I mentioned James Nestor's book a couple of weeks ago. James Nestor, former podcast guest on Zestology. He helps deal with these symptoms of blocked up nose, headaches, blocked sinuses, and just generally feeling a little bit under the weather. And I've been trying mouth taping for probably a month now, and it's amazing. It seems to make my sinuses clearer at night, and that is a win. But more than that, I seem to sleep deeper. I really do. I'm not just making this up. I seem to sleep deeper. In fact, I'm not just seeming, it's not seeming, I am just sleeping a lot better. It's sort of leapt right to the top of my favourite hacks. And I know I spoke on this podcast before. The first night I did it, I hated it. And the second night I didn't love it much, but I'm so used to it now. Just put it on at the end. If I had a choice between that and an eye mask, or that and virtually anything, I'll probably take that. I love it. And that familiar blocked nose feeling is gone, and I'm very excited about it. I've already been speaking on the podcast quite a bit about it, but I wanted to read and bring to you some of your responses for what you've been saying about mouth breathing, because a lot of people expressed it slightly better than me. I'm just going to read a couple. This one says, what a great post. I mouth tape on a regular basis. It doesn't look pretty, but it's so beneficial. There are certain biological changes that occur when we're nose breathing in our sleep that do not happen as efficiently if we mouth breathe, such as nitric oxide being released in the sinuses. This contributes and aids vasodilation. Imagine the benefits of your veins and arteries being fully expanded while you sleep. Myotape is great for this. So I think that's almost explained it better than I possibly could. Yeah, imagine the benefit of all that vasodilation, of your veins and arteries being fully expanded and working at their best while you're sleeping. Lots of recovery. Another comment here, it helps so much. I don't wake up feeling sluggish with blocked sinuses when I tape up. That message actually said knocked rather than blocked, but I'm pretty sure it meant blocked. Opening the nostrils more at night helps to encourage nasal breathing, which is absolutely right. It's definitely agree with that. This one says, yes, I have tried it. Most of the time I don't need it, but sometimes I do. Great for oral health as well. And that is absolutely right. It's supposed to be really good for your mouth health and your oral health as well. Helps with sleep, congestion, and helps with the heart as well. And there's a book by Patrick McKeown, spelled McKeown, called Close Your Mouth, which someone has recommended in the comments, and I'm going to check that out as well. And just a couple more comments here. This one says, I started in December, and I think it definitely makes a difference. I'm halfway through Breath, such a fascinating read. And yes, I've been mouth taping for almost a year now, and it's changed everything. It definitely has, yeah. And this one, I've been taping my mouth for a month now, and I'm feeling okay on it. It was strange to start, but I plan on continuing because of the long-term benefits. I make sure, this is getting into the nitty-gritty, I make sure I blow my nose before putting the tape on, and any stuffiness seems to go away. Have been reading the Breathe book on Kindle to send me off to sleep, and I definitely know the feeling with that. And one more here, let's just read one more. I know the feeling you're describing. I always have one sinus or nostril stuffed up for as long as I can remember. I've started taking a DAO supplement every day, a DAO supplement, to help my body dispose of histamines. Now I wake up with both sinuses clear. So that's obviously slightly different to using the mouth taping, but the DAO supplements is a good point. And one more here. How can you breathe through your nose if it's stuffed up? And that is a very good point. And one of the points that James Nestor makes in his scientifically, rigorously researched journalistic work on Breathe is that the more your nose is stuffed up, the less you use it and the more it gets stuffed up. Basically, the more you use something, the better it gets, and the less you use something, the less it wants to be used. And when it comes to the nose, that is very much the case. So if you're mouth taping, you can't breathe at all through your nose, that is not going to be good. And you might have to start 10 minutes at a time. But he makes the point that you have to, it's almost like taking your nose to the gym, if you see what I mean. You have to train it to work. You have to train the arteries, the vasodilation to open so you can start to breathe more clearly. You have to train the nostrils. And he makes the point that there's all this very, very sensitive tissue at the top of our sinuses and our nostrils. And it gets very inflamed if we don't use it properly, and especially at night. And that's why the mouth taping is so beneficial. So that is just a flavour of the comments. I was really surprised at what a popular post it was. So many comments and likes and people messaging me personally as well to say how much they'd found it useful. And I love it. So get on with the mouth breathing, with the mouth taping and the nose breathing, and let me know how you get on. And now let's move on to a bit of decluttering. I was going to say we've decluttered our nose, now we can declutter our lives, but it doesn't quite work, does it? Shira Gill is a declutter expert. She builds you up whilst helping you to edit down to the best version of yourself. And her book, Minimalista, is out in the next couple of months and is available for pre-order on Amazon now. And she has a complete toolkit. And I have to say, she's very inspiring as well. This concept of having less in your life, potentially doing less as well, I think is something that really suits me. And I've felt that for quite a long time, actually. I don't like to live in a house with a lot of clutter, which is very difficult when you've got a 2-year-old. But we're trying our best to sort of declutter, even in amongst the toys. But here is Shira Gill then, the Minimalista, who will help you clear the clutter from your home, life and mind. Shira, welcome to Zestology. How are you?
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, well, nice to talk to you. There's nothing like speaking to an expert in home design and minimalism to make me feel very self-conscious about the background in my spare room.
Yes, I'm judging you.
Yeah, the thing is, I've long felt like, we'll analyse what's going on in this room in a sec, actually. But I've long felt like empty, clean spaces make me feel a certain way. I mean, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, for me, 100%. And obviously, most of the people I work with, that's what they're after, is kind of getting out of the drain of clutter and distraction and into feeling this clarity and peace of mind and spaciousness.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and even just tidying up makes me feel better.
Yeah, it's quite therapeutic.
It is. And yet I'm one of the most untidy people I know.
Well, what's that about?
I don't know. I'm obviously just lazy. So yes, I mean, it's difficult. You know, we've got a 2-year-old and there's certainly more stuff than before. And when we had Stan, we were full of lofty ideas on how we weren't going to get him too many toys and all the rest of it. The amount of stuff he gets given at birthdays and stuff like that, it's unbelievable.
Oh yeah, it's staggering. And I have 2 kids myself, so I've been through all of that and, you know, asking my mom and mother-in-law to back off and being met with a no.
Yeah.
So it's definitely, I think kids bring a whole other layer of clutter, right? Because they want all the things and people want to gift all the things and there's so much pressure. When I started my business, it was when I had a new baby because I saw this huge new influx and it felt really overwhelming to me as well.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think your values and my values are quite similar in terms of, I know you like, you know, non-toxic products and you like to look after the planet as well when possible. And I rang up my friend when we first had our son and I said, do I remember rightly that you don't have any plastic toys, it's all wooden toys? And he laughed and he said that for about 5 minutes that's what we wanted to do, but it just wasn't really possible.
It's so sad. I know, I tried so hard to invest in the beautiful wooden Scandinavian toys and my kids would like throw them out the window. They were like, we want the googly eyes and the plastic and
I know.
It's an uphill battle for sure.
The plastic lorries are just so talk me through and talk everyone who is listening through exactly what you do and how you do it, because your Zoom background right now is just, it's a thing of beauty.
Thank you. I'm sitting in my dining room, which has become my podcast studio, writer's room, homework center, everything under the sun.
Well, I've seen it on your Instagram quite a bit, that dining room. It is lovely.
Yeah, thank you. My process really was born out of figuring this stuff out for myself, feeling the same exact way as you described, feeling like when I look around and there's clutter in piles, it makes me feel stressed out. And certainly with having kids, it was a whole other level. And we have a puppy now and I have a husband. So all the people and all the things. And so I've just developed this process after I've been working with clients in their homes for 11 plus years now. So I've worked with hundreds of people and now virtually all over the globe, so thousands of people. And I've come up with this process that seems to be fairly universally applicable. And it's basically a very simple 5-step process where step 1, you clarify, what do I want my space to look and feel like? How do I want it to function? How do I want to feel in it? What do I want to do? So once you really have clarified your values, then step 2, which is the bulk of where I spend my time, is just editing, just clearing clutter, getting rid of things. And I walk my clients through that process because it can be excruciating for people and bring up a lot of emotion and guilt and shame and all sorts of complexities. And so I really focus on kind of a positive, future-focused vision of, let's not get bogged down with all of the shoulds, but just look at, what do you want to create now? How do you want your space to feel now? Let's strip away the things that aren't serving you. And then after that, it's organize, right? So setting up simple systems, containing your stuff in a way that makes sense to you and will be easy and intuitive for you and your family. I'm all about like the most simple system. I'm not into overcomplicating or color coding or alphabetizing because I don't want to spend my time doing that. I kind of just want to dump things into a bin that makes sense. So I really simplify that process and then elevate, because I love design. So it's now, how can we make it pretty and chic and lovely? And then maintain. So those are my 5 steps. And that's what I outline in my book in much greater detail, but that's kind of like the quick down and dirty.
Yeah. And your book, which is coming out soon, which we're very much looking forward to. And I think, step 4 is often a difficult one for me, because I know what works when I look at it, but I don't know. Sometimes I don't know how to come up with that idea in the first place. So that's a difficult one, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And everyone has different taste and different style. So I think it's kind of about being curious about your own preferences and just starting to pay attention to, when you're at a restaurant or a hotel, what do you really love and react to? And you can start studying your own preferences, right? Because design is not a one size fits all thing. So for me, even when I was at university, I would want my little dorm room to look like a boutique hotel. So I would pay attention. Oh, okay, they're using just crisp white sheets. I can get white sheets. They don't have to be the most expensive, right? And like they have fresh flowers and they have lemons in bowls. Okay, I'm gonna just copy these little things and kind of make my own boutique hotel. But I have clients that want their house to look like a jungle and literally have like trees growing in the windows, everything under the sun that you can imagine. So I think of it as like a fun, creative process of figuring out your own style and what's going to make you feel good in your space.
Great. Yes. Well, now, in preparation for this interview, not really, but I did a bit of decluttering over the last couple of weeks. So in the background, it's perfect opportunity to speak to you, really. You'll be able to see a couple of boxes. Now, we moved to this house a couple of years ago. And before that, we were both living in my bachelor pad. And before that, I was living there on my own. And I've got to sort of thrown out quite a bit of stuff. But I found all these old pictures that, they're quite nice frames and they're quite nice pictures. I can't really think where to put them in the house. And there's a lot of them. But I can't, and I don't think I'm a sentimental type. And I don't really, I don't feel too emotionally attached to these things. But I still don't, it feels like a waste to throw them away. So what's your analysis of this rather messy spare room at the moment?
So I definitely wouldn't throw them away. But my thing with art, and this is such a universal thing, that people have stacks of art that likewise, nice art, nice frames, don't really have a place to put it. What do I do with it? So for me, the saddest thing would be letting it collect dust for the rest of your life. And so I would really give you the tough love of look through it. If there's anything that you love that you actually want on a wall, put it on a wall now. And if not, I would donate it to a local charity or a church or a school or a friend or your mom. Give it to someone who will use it and put it on their wall now. And I know that's hard. It feels like a letting go. But if you think about just having this stack behind you, it's visually distracting. It feels like clutter. It's kind of an unresolved decision. So I would just press you to make those decisions. Like if you don't like it enough to find it a space in your home to display, I would argue that it's time to pass it along to another home.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was thinking, some of these frames are just a nice frames in themselves, and the pictures inside them aren't that, maybe perhaps I could replace the pictures and then do something.
You could absolutely swap out.
Yeah.
But let me caution you, because frame hoarding is a thing.
Frame hoarding,
it's very common.
Oh dear.
So again, I would say if you need a frame, by all means, keep the frame and put something you love in it and put it up on your wall. But don't just have a collection of frames behind you.
Frame hoarding. Oh dear. Yeah. And then now something that I've seen on your site is looks into this whole thing of people thinking they're being very kind by recycling or passing on things to you. And you get this a lot when you've got a family as well. I've got like a massive baby kitchen with 120 different wooden bits of fruit. Would you like it?
Yeah.
And then you say yes. And then you're saddled with this unbelievably massive bit of tat in your house. Oh, that's quite a problem, isn't it?
Oh, it really is. And I think it's good practice for all of us to say a gracious, friendly no. I think that's a critical life skill that, most of us are people pleasers and we don't want to offend. But I really do think I've practiced a lot saying no, because it's very important to me to not have my house explode with other people's things just because I've felt bad, right? And I've seen that time and time again with clients who literally have rooms overflowing with stuff because their very sweet neighbor just kept giving them things and they didn't have the heart to say no, but now it's their problem. And so I can tell you the way I do. I literally just say, oh, that's so lovely. It will make someone so happy. We just don't have the space for it. But thank you so much for thinking of me. End of story. Yeah. And I've had people who aggressively are trying to explain how amazing it is and why it's going to make my life better. And I just will stay firm, but very friendly.
Yeah, yeah. So I wondered if we could go, there's an old British TV show called Through the Keyhole, which you probably haven't heard of. It's basically, people of a certain age in this country would know, but otherwise they wouldn't. But basically, you go into people's homes and they tell you a little bit about what's going on. And I feel like looking at you and your background on Zoom right now, I want to be there. It looks like it's just a lovely setting. The lighting is fabulous. It looks like it's a nice spring day and there's nice and airy. There's some kind of minimalist white cupboards in the background. There's a certain feeling that I'm getting from your space and a certain energy. And this podcast is all about energy. Without going too deep into it, that is essentially what you're going for, isn't it?
Totally. Yeah. And I've been sensitive to my environment my entire life. And it really is an energetic thing. I know I kind of can't rest until my environment around me feels good. So there has been a lot of work put in and invested into making my environment feel good. And actually the cupboards you're staring at used to be dark brown and crumbling. And, I redesigned them to have them be very sleek and minimal, stripped away all the clutter. So it's very intentional. And I think a lot of it is just paying attention to how you feel in your space and noticing what are the things that make me feel good. For me, I really do like a very sparse, minimal environment, but I still want it to feel warm and lovely. I don't want it to feel stark and cold. So it's always kind of balancing and just being willing to play a little bit to figure out what is that right balance for you.
So you get the bowls of lemons.
The bowls of lemons are key.
The bowls of lemons. It's all about the bowls of lemons.
My husband used to joke. He was like, are these show lemons or am I able to cook with these lemons?
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Today's deal of the week, today's podcast partner is Blood Sugar Breakthrough. And when I talk about blood sugar, a lot of people sort of tune out a bit because they only think it's relevant to people with diabetes or people who are ill. But the blood sugar conundrum, if you can get that right, if you can get your blood sugar levels right, everything changes. One of the big keys to having optimal health is to have balanced blood sugar. What happens when you eat a donut? Your pancreas releases insulin, tells your body there's plenty of energy. So now is the time to store fat. And it doesn't matter whether you eat a donut or drink a glass of orange juice. packet of crisps, whatever it might be, it all has a similar effect on blood sugar. When you take in a lot of carbs too quickly without much fiber or fat to slow down absorption, you get what we call a sugar crash. And we all cheat sometimes. And, you know, I mean, I'm no saint when it comes to the lure of, I quite like macaroons at the moment. And that is why I recommend a product called Blood Sugar Breakthrough by Bioptimizers. They are my podcast partners this week, and I'm so proud to partner with Bioptimizers because all of their products are totally on point. It's an easy to take supplement. It is the result of numerous tests to find the absolute best formula for maintaining healthy blood sugar. Isn't that great? So it basically works to safely lower your blood sugar after meals so you can maintain a healthy weight and redirect carbs to your muscles where they can be burned for energy. And that means you'll avoid the worst effects of the high blood sugar spikes. You know, I mean, it's not totally negating the effects of the double pizza, but it will really help. And I have an exclusive offer for Zestology listeners. If you go to bloodsugarbreakthrough.health/Zestology, okay? So you need to head to this site, bloodsugarbreakthrough.health/Zestology. You will get a chunk of change off. You get 10% off. It'll explain it all there as well. But this is a product, I mean, it's potentially revolutionary because when you know you're going to have a bit of a blowout, and we all do, and that's good. You don't want to be totally religious about it. You can take your blood sugar breakthrough and you'll be all right. bloodsugarbreakthrough.health/Zestology for 10% off. And if you're in the UK, head to bioptimizers.co.uk, use that code Zestology10, you get the same discount, okay? So UK users slightly different, but everywhere else in the world, bloodsugarbreakthrough.health/Zestology. Wherever you are in the world, if you do take advantage of this, let me know what you think. Let me know if it does safely lower your blood sugar levels and you feel good. Let me know when you do cheat sometimes, you maintain your healthy blood sugar levels. Let me know if it's a donut, a packet of crisps or a pizza. Gluten-free, yes. Back to the show. I mean, it's quite interesting. There's, I've got a friend who's an interior designer, which has massively helped when we've moved into two places over the last few years. And I gave her a bit of, have you heard of Soho House?
Yeah.
Soho House in London's obviously really big, and now it's all over America as well. And a couple of times she said, you know, you could go for a sort of Soho House look, which I said, that sounds nice. I always walk into Soho House and it looks amazing, but I don't want it to look just like Soho House. But actually they do make things look quite nice there. There's a sort of brand taste, isn't there? And obviously your brand taste is like sort of light and bright and quite airy and clean.
Yes, absolutely. And I think for me, I mean, again, it comes back to values. And so for me, it's not motivated by just an aesthetic, but it's how do I want to feel in my space? What do I want to do in my space? So as I mentioned, you know, we're in, for America, a relatively small home. We have, you know, a 1,200 square foot house with no office or studio. And right now, my husband and I are both working from home. We have kids who have been distance learning. So where I'm sitting in this small dining room space, it has to function as every type of space, a workspace, a homework space, a place to eat, all of the things, right? And so I'm kind of concerned with making it neutral enough where it's not going to be a huge pain when, like, I have to do a podcast. I'm not clearing piles of stuff and scrubbing dishes and moving art piles, but I literally can just plop down at the table and have a clean background. And so it enables me to do my job and take on projects that otherwise maybe I would be embarrassed because my background was a mess. Likewise, we rent our house a lot, which enables us to travel, which is another big value of mine. And so I've made our house kind of a clean enough slate where other people from around the world find it appealing to come, you know, have a vacation in our home. And then that enables us to go travel. So I've just seen by stripping away clutter, the payoff is so massive in terms of what it enables us to do in terms of our day-to-day life. Just the ease and the flow of working, playing, eating, entertaining, traveling, everything is easier because we don't have piles of stuff in the way.
Yeah. It's funny, sometimes there is something about the headspace of acquiring stuff. Sometimes I'll find that I've bought something on Amazon, for example, and then it arrives a couple of days later and I think, oh, no, I'm going to have to actually, work out how to use it and work out where to put it. There is, and actually you'd rather you didn't have it in the first place.
Oh, totally. I mean, I think we've all had that buyer's remorse where the Amazon boxes show up, and even the box itself. Now I have to break down a box and the packaging, and is it really worth it? And the thing that always helps me is, before I add to cart and buy something new, I kind of try to fast forward in my brain to the future cost and time and energy suck of managing that thing. And sometimes it's worth it, but sometimes I can catch myself and go, oh, I don't want to break down the box. I don't want to find a place for this in my house. I don't want to have to clean it. I don't want to have to find a storage bin for it. Like, no. And then you can kind of reverse that decision in advance and spare yourself.
Yeah. Clutter. I mean, I do try and minimize it. And when I get it right, I feel so much better. And it's not just physical clutter we've been talking about. I try and kind of empty up my day a little bit, try not to have too many things in the diary, although lockdown has made me appreciate the benefit of having a few. Not too many windows open on your computer. It's all about bandwidth, isn't it? And the more kind of things that you've got distracting you and taking your attention away from the task at hand, the less energy you have for that task, I think.
Exactly. And I think this is like the height of the stimulation, like with technology and all of the developments that we have. I think more than ever, certainly when I look at my parents' generation and what they were contending with, they didn't have all of the noise that technology has brought into our lives. And it's certainly a great thing and a benefit in so many ways, and connects us, but also distracts us. So, you gave the example of all of the windows open. I think all the time of like my phone I have beside me. It's like this powerful machine that's always screaming for my attention. And I've had to really try to carve out boundaries for myself around, putting it away at the end of the day, like basically hiding it from myself, so that I can get that quiet and that calm and recharge away from it.
Right, yeah. And I've actually thought, because our son's obviously quite young, so as yet he's not kind of addicted to technology like his parents. But one of the things we've considered is having, a nice piece of furniture. So, this is something I've thought. You could have a nice piece of furniture somewhere downstairs. It could be a small little table, and all the technology goes in there when you're not using it. Because then you end up setting a better example. Because, ultimately, he's going to learn from what we do, not what we say. So I think, there's more to learn for us there. And I think putting it away when you're not actively using it takes away the distraction. I wonder if you've done anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I am a complete addict and a slave to my phone, and it's not something I'm proud of. And my kids are now 10 and 12. So they comment on it and put me in check, because they have their own screen rules, and they say, well, Mom, you never put your phone down. So the one thing that I've been doing is we all eat together as a family every night at 6. So I basically have a rule now for all 4 of us that we call it check your tech. So right before we set the table and sit down at 6 o'clock, it's everybody checks their tech. We've got a little docking station in a cabinet that closes. So we can put everything away out of sight, all of the cords, the iPads, the phones, the laptops, it gets stowed, and that's it for the night.
For the night?
For the night, yeah. So
that's great. That is great. It's 6 o'clock and then it's done.
Yeah, it's done. I mean, especially for my kids. I will tell you, when I was writing my book, I certainly had lapses where I'd put them to bed and then I'd go grab my computer and take care of business. But I would say for sure from 6 to 9 when they go to bed, we're all off. It's all checked. It's out of sight.
That's lovely.
And that has been really helpful.
So what do you do? I mean, I've got this image of you playing board games or something like that.
What do we do? We eat a lot of ice cream. We have dinner together as a family. So we sit down at 6, and then, we do the dishes, we do tidy up as a family. So that's kind of part of our habit and ritual is like we reset our house for
That's
the night.
nice, actually. Yeah.
It is nice. I mean, my kids might not say that it's nice, but it's very helpful. So, I'll kind of clear and they'll clear the dishes and we'll all hang out and put on some music in the kitchen, do the dishes, dry them, put them away, pack the lunches for school the next day, talk about what we're doing. And, then at 8, we might watch a family show together. So it's not that all technology is banned. It's just our personal devices. So we do that, or we'll take a walk with our dog, or we'll go get an ice cream. But just kind of a reset from all of the tech.
Lovely. That's really cool. So I think that's something I'm going to learn from you. So you've got a docking station in a drawer somewhere.
Yeah, it's a cabinet. And what you can do is you can repurpose a little letter sorter that, you would normally put letters in, and it's perfect for all of the tech devices to be propped up.
Right.
So that's what we do. And then I just have a bin that we can throw cords and chargers and earbuds in. So it's very easy. You can do it on any shelf or cabinet or bookshelf. Literally, you could just do a bin and toss it all in there, and then just decide what your time frame is. I have a good friend also who wrote a book called 24/6 that's about taking a full day off technology every Saturday, like from Friday night to Saturday night. And that's something I want to get in the practice of. We haven't quite implemented it, but I do love the idea of like having one day off a week. That's just, let's go to the beach, let's take a walk, let's cook, let's read, and kind of refresh our brains from all of the constant stimulation.
Yeah. My rules are definitely around not just banning all tech, but tech which you can communicate on. So for example, I might switch off for a couple of hours a day, but that is mainly the internet, because that's where a lot of the addictive behavior lies, I think. I would still allow myself to read my book on my Kindle, for example. I'd say that's allowed.
Absolutely. I like it. Well, that's why, we love watching TV as a family. And, initially we were like, no tech. And then we were just kind of sitting in the living room. And, reading is great and all of that. But I think like we have found it quite bonding as a family to find a show we love and watch it together. So I think you're right. It's about figuring out what the kind of addiction is and the distraction and trying to take a break from that.
And of course, if you've not got your tech next to you, you're actually focusing on the TV, which is rare, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. I know. I am always screaming at my kids, no multi-tech, no, because they'll have a phone, an iPad, a TV, and I'm like, pick one.
Yeah, I need that advice as well. So Shira, look, I feel like I've learned a lot. And the first thing I'm going to do when we finish this is clear that pile of nonsense behind me.
Yes.
And actually, we've got someone coming over tomorrow who can help us put pictures up. So tonight is the night to make some decisions.
Yes. Love it.
Yeah. What is one book that you would recommend? You mentioned your friend's book there. And what is one tip for living with more energy?
Yeah. So book-wise, I absolutely recommend 24/6, which is about how to do a digital detox in a way that feels really good for you and your family. One bonus book I have to mention is Essentialism, which is kind of my Bible, and it's figuring out what's important, stripping away the rest, both physically, emotionally, mentally.
That sounds great.
Oh, it's brilliant. Yeah. And he has a new book out. He has a new book out also called Effortless that I just ordered.
Okay. Who wrote Essentialism? Do you remember?
So that's Greg McEwen. I hope I'm saying his name right. He's brilliant. And then I'm sorry, what was the follow-up question?
The second question was, what is one tip for living with more energy?
Getting a lot of sleep, which I do religiously. I'm like the Energizer Bunny during the day, but I am lights out at 10. I like to sleep until at least 7. And it's a place where it's just non-negotiable for me. I can't function or be energized unless I sleep really well.
Great. Yeah, I'm fully on board with that. Shira, thank you. So the book is out. Is it September the book is out?
Yeah, so the pub date is October 12th, but it is available worldwide for pre-order now. And I do have some really fun bonus goodies when you pre-order. So I've done checklists, organizing checklists for every room in your house to kind of kickstart your organizing clutter-free journey right away if you're wanting to dive in.
Fantastic. And what's your website again?
It's just my name, Shira Gill, ShiraGill.com.
Great. Well, look, I've loved following you on Instagram the last few months, and I've long thought that there's a great business idea in helping people sort out their Zoom backgrounds. And if I set up that business, I'm going to hire you as Chief Zoom Background Officer, because you've got a good one there.
I love it. It's so funny that you say that, because I was just hired to do a talk just on that subject, how to create a lovely Zoom background and clear the clutter. So
great. Have you got lighting there? I think you have, haven't you? You've got some sort of lighting there.
I swear by a little light, shining at your face behind your computer.
Yeah, that looks good. You put me to shame a bit in my dingy London backdrop, but it's all gonna. Next time we speak, it's all gonna be different.
It's all gonna be changed. I love it. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Shira. That is it. Thank you to Shira. Thank you for listening as well. Before we go, if you're planning on a bit of a blowout, you do need Blood Sugar Breakthrough by Bioptimizers. Blood sugar cannot seem a very sexy topic, and it can seem a little bit niche, but it's at the heart of almost everything. Due to the addictive nature of sugar and carbs, once your body brings your blood sugar levels back down, that's when the cravings kick in and you start wanting it again. So what you want to keep your blood sugar nice and steady. You don't want a jagged graph. You want it nice and even. None of us are perfect, but you can help with Blood Sugar Breakthrough. What you do is you take that with your meal, and it's the result of numerous tests to find the absolute best formula to maintaining healthy blood sugar. And what you do is it works to safely lower your blood sugar after meals. More stable energy, more mental clarity, and fewer cravings. And you can go to a specially set up web page, bloodsugarbreakthrough.health/zestology. Save 10% with the code zestology10. bloodsugarbreakthrough.health/zestology. And save 10% with the code zestology10. That code works on both the US store and the UK store. So if you're in the UK, find Blood Sugar Breakthrough, use the code zestology10, and keep that blood sugar nice and stable this week. Healthy blood sugar is going to make you feel a lot better. That's it for this week's podcast. Have a good week. Have a zesty week. Lots of energy. And I'll see you next week.